Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning LaLa Land. I'm so excited to welcome our next guest. She's the author of But I Love Him, Michelle Jewsbury. How are you?
I am great. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Congrats on the book.
Yeah, thank you. It was a big accomplishment. It takes a lot to really share your story, what you've been through, so you can impact hundreds of thousands of people's lives.
Yeah.
So take us there. Let's talk about your journey.
So I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I was involved in an abusive relationship between 2012 and roughly late 2015. While I was in that abusive relationship, I was beat, I was raped, I was hurt psychologically, physically, and really I was beat down. Upon leaving that relationship, I started documenting what happened to me. And when I started documenting, I then realized the light bulb went off and I was like, wow, I really went through a lot. And I think a lot of people could learn from this. So then I wrote and performed a solo play called But I Love Him, same title as my book. And that was debuted at the Whitefire Solo Fest in 2016, and then again in the Hollywood Fringe Festival. And then it translated into a book, and my memoir has been available for roughly about 6 months now.
So Michelle, it's such an interesting thing, but I love him. I've heard girlfriends say that about very unhealthy relationships that I've witnessed them be in, even unhealthy relationships that I've been in, with the excuse, but I love him. At what point do we realize that it is unhealthy? I mean, what are some of the signs?
So there's a ton of red flags. Overly controlling, putting you down. So oftentimes, men and women, but I'll use my experience, when you're in an abusive relationship and your boyfriend or your significant other or husband tells you, hey, you're beautiful, except when you wear that, it makes you look fat. So it starts playing psychological tricks on your brain. It's the same thing moving forward. They gaslight you. Gaslight you means that they really disregard your story of how things happened. So for example, if I was hit or spit on or yelled at the night before, oh, you're remembering that wrong. It actually happened like this. So then you start to make excuses for the behavior. Oh, I love him. He went through a really hard day at work today. It wasn't his fault. It's not his fault at all. I took the blame for everything.
What brought you to the place where you eventually decided to get out?
So everybody has a breaking point. There's a cycle in domestic violence, and it goes from walking on eggshells to a big blow up, being emotionally, psychologically, physically, and then the apology stage, the I'm sorry, I love you, I promise I will never do this again. Well, there has to be some type of different circumstance to happen in order for somebody to break out of that relationship. And for me, it was when I found out that my abuser, we'll call him Paul, was having an affair on me. And I found out it was multiple affairs. So for some reason, emotionally, I could handle, okay, you beat me, you physically assaulted me, you emotionally abused me, but then you cheat on me? I can't handle that. So I went cuckoo for a little while. I was, crying hysterically for a couple of weeks, and I was fortunate he let me go. But he stayed in contact with me, of course, for a year after that. That's why I say roughly the end of 2015, because he stayed in contact. He wanted me to still be at his beck and call. He still financially abused me. And then my breaking point was when he put his next girlfriend's head through a window. So then at that point, I had a choice to make. I could either stay in contact with him and keep this cycle going, or I could break free and do something about it.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for sharing this. I'm sitting here just and I grew up with in a very household that had domestic violence, and there are so many people that still live in the shame of that they still can't even talk about it. What brought you here? I mean, I know you wrote a book about it, but I can see even in your body, it's very brave for you to have this conversation, because I can still feel in your body that it's hard. It's a hard thing for you to talk about. It's so brave of you to do. Like, how are you getting the word out, and how are you getting this to so many people that want to hear it, but how do you get there? How did you get there?
So it's a calling. I felt like you can turn lemons into lemonade. And in order to do that, you have to speak out. So in July of 2017, I started a nonprofit organization called Unsilenced Voices. And we work in Ghana and Sierra Leone, Africa. We're expanding to Nepal and also the LA area. We just partnered with some really great people, which I can't name drop right now because it's not out there yet, but they're going to help us solidify a presence here in Los Angeles. And we are moving forward because you have to unsilence your voice. You have to speak up. You have to be able to talk about what happened to you in order for you to heal.
To heal, right?
And that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Michelle, thank you so much for being so brave and sharing your story. Please tell everyone where they can get involved with Unsilenced Voices and follow your journey.
Thank you. So you can find me and Unsilenced Voices on all social media handles at Michelle Jewsbury or at Unsilenced Voices. And you can find But I Love Him on Amazon.com.
I wonder.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Stay
very
tuned. Back
much.
tomorrow. Good morning, La La Land.